Says it's recording.
Okay, perfect. We're live. Okay, so my name is Michelle McFarland, and I'm with Exit Realty Group in Belleville. I'm a real estate agent who services Belleville and the Quinte area. I work closely with Sandra Brown here, who works with Mortgage Alliance, and we were having a conversation the other day about COVID and all these questions that we seem to be getting over and over again. So we thought what we would do is just do a quick video to help educate people and see if we can help answer some of the questions that people have. So Sandra is with Mortgage Alliance, and yeah.
Good morning, Michelle. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You're right. We get lots of questions from different buyers and sellers saying, okay, why should I be buying a house now?
Yeah, that's the number one question I'm getting too is it the market going to crash? Like, when are the house prices going down? And when can we start getting houses for a lot cheaper than what they're listed for? So that's something that I get asked daily. And so in the sense of the market crashing, what are your thoughts on this?
You know, and again, this is my personal opinion. So I think there's going to be a reduction in house buying, but I think it's going to come to almost a normal, because it has been crazy for the last couple of years where the amount of buyers is just, from your experience, do you find, Michelle, that there's a lot more buyers out there than there was?
Yes. There has been a significant, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Not enough listings for the amount of buyers that are out there. So obviously it's a seller's market for sure. And I get asked that all the time, especially with COVID, buyers thinking that it's now a buyer's market, which obviously it's not. In fact, it's still a seller's market.
And why is that, Michelle? Why do you think it is a seller's market versus a buyer's market?
So it's basically a seller's market because there's still tons of buyers out there. There are still lots of people working. There's still lots of people separating and divorcing, and there's people still passing, which is still the norm for the real estate market. So, I mean, the market is still rolling at a good, steady pace, and I just think that some people are afraid of this virus and have kind of put the buying process on hold, but there still are a ton of people out there that still want to buy a house.
Okay. And you know what? I'm the forever optimist. A housing crash, I don't know if it's going to crash. I think it's going to be not as busy as it has been.
Right.
It's still going to be housing. Like you said, people are still buying houses. They're still moving. They're still growing their families. They're still separating, unfortunately. But it's still a need for housing.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even now with the people who are continuously still working, are people in the healthcare field and the essential workers. I mean, now is a great time for them to be able to take advantage because their competition isn't necessarily as much, because there are people who are now obviously laid off and not working. So a lot of those people are a little bit leery and cautious about buying a house right now, just for the simple fact of, if this continues to happen, how are they going to be able to pay their mortgage?
That's a good point.
A little bit more than their rent, right? So yeah, I do feel, I was telling you earlier that on Monday, I had a client and we went into multiple offer situation, and there was 11 offers, and it went, I think it was 35,000 over asking. So
wow.
If the pandemic wasn't happening right now, I'm curious to wonder if the amount of multiple offers would have been like 25 offers instead of just 11, because even that's still significant, having that many offers in on a property. So when I get asked the question of when are the house prices going down, my answer is always, I really don't think that they are going down. We've seen a steady increase in property value. Last month in April, we saw a 6% increase in the average home sale price. So, and that was in the midst of the peak of the pandemic. So I mean, I'm not really sure, to be honest. You or I both don't have a crystal ball, as much as we would love to, but I really don't think that prices are really going to go down that significantly if they do.
And you know what? That's the point. So there's a important thing for people to realize, that even though there's COVID and somebody's unemployed, that means getting a mortgage is not going to be simple, because they cannot, lenders are not accepting that CERB as income.
Right.
So that's going to reduce the competition considerably, because there's only certain people that are still working, and they are now able to buy because there's less competition.
Right, right. And I do feel that a lot of homes, even though they are going into multiple offers, people are at least still being smart in the sense of putting that financing condition in and so on. So normally the financing condition would be 5 business days. So is that changed at all with the?
Absolutely. So I recommend 7 business days, strictly because it's slowed down. The time it's taking for lenders, because believe it or not, we are even busier than we've ever been in the lending world. So it's taken them longer to get approvals done. Not only that, is if there's an appraisal required for the approval, trying to get the appraisal done, it takes longer to get an appraiser out there. There's a lot of
restrictions. It was always longer with an appraiser. Even pre-pandemic, I found that the appraisers were getting backlogged and really, really busy. So even now with that, I can understand.
And what about your home inspectors? Is that not another delay that you have? Is it taking just as long, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're staying really busy. So I think that they're probably a little bit busier than normal, but they are just working longer hours. And because we're getting more sunlight every day, I mean, they can work longer. So I don't think that's a huge, huge issue. But I do feel that people are still being smart in the sense of at least still getting home inspections and stuff.
And you brought up another point, great point, Michelle. You said the condition of financing,
Right.
5 days. Here's a misconception that many buyers have. They believe if they had a pre-approval that they're good to not put conditions of finance in their offers.
Big no.
Big no, please. If I can say that, I could say it 100 times. Even when you have a approval, put an offer, and you're putting in an offer on to buy a house, please put the condition of finance.
Right.
And that doesn't change, because the lender may not like the house you're buying.
Right. And that's the thing too that I'm finding is, I mean, the offer that I was doing on Monday, I mean, we did go over asking, but we did not go 35,000 over asking. And that's the problem, is I'm not too sure if that home would appraise at that value. I mean, maybe if they were paying cash and the bank wasn't involved, then fine. But I mean, the banks still want to make sure that the value is there. If they're going to give you $400,000 for a house, they want to make sure that it's worth $400,000 and not, you know what I mean? So
another good point. Very, very good points. So what a lot of people don't realize is the max they're going to lend is 95% of the purchase price or appraised value, whatever's lower.
Right. Okay. Which, yeah, people don't realize. I mean, and there's, I think, very few of the population that are buying in cash. So, I mean, I'm always recommending my clients, no matter what. I mean, you've got the pre-approval and everything else. You still need to put that financing condition in to ensure that the appraisal does come back and you're safe, right? Because you don't get stuck with a mortgage that the bank's not going to give you the money for.
That's exactly. It's more than just that, because it's not just the lenders that's got to approve your deal. Now it's the insurer.
Right.
They're going to get the final say. If you're coming in with less than 20% down, they may decline the deal for whatever reason. So we always have to, when you have a pre-approval or a pre-qualification, you're going to hear those terminologies all the time. You still need to have a condition of finance on your offer.
So I have a question for you. This just popped in my head. This hasn't crossed my mind until now. So with the government benefit money, are people able to use that for a down payment?
That's really a gray zone.
I'm sure
That is a
probably
gray
maybe
zone.
some people have already thought of this. I haven't until just now.
I actually had a story that where a file got declined based on too many of those benefits being in their bank account. Because remember, the lender is going to have 3 months bank statements for that.
Right.
If you
Okay.
started seeing a whole bunch of deposits of that, you could get declined, because reality is, if you're not entitled to it,
Right.
right, because you're working and you're getting that money, the government's going to ask for it back. And that's what we keep being told. So we got to believe that the government's going to do what they say they're going to do and take it back.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's another concern.
Yeah. So that makes sense then. I think that's the most, I mean, or the most, what's the word I'm trying to think of? The most frequent question I'm being asked is obviously with the prices of the homes and, when's it going to crash and stuff like that. And the prices going down, I don't believe that's going to go down. So now I think that what's going to happen from here on out is I do believe there's going to be a huge rush with the market once everything reopens, because I do believe that the COVID has either made the make or break for most people in their homes. People are realizing whether they love it and they're happy in their home, or people are realizing that either it's too big and they need to downsize, or it's way too small and they need to find a bigger house, or now some people are realizing they can't live with each other at all. So
they're going to list their husbands or wives.
Yeah, exactly. So I do feel like it is going to pick up and be quite busy here, because we kind of missed our normal spring market. So I think it's just essentially just going to be pushed into June, July, August, and probably into September, October, because even last year, no pandemic involved, I was really busy in the fall, and that was different from previous years. So I think that we are going to see it being pretty busy in the fall.
Everybody who has been locked up in their house, once these things have been lifted, restrictions, they're all going to be out looking for a house just to get out of their house.
Exactly. Yeah. For something to do even. Yeah.
Again, like I told you, there's been an influx in people wanting mortgages right now. It's huge. So obviously, if they're coming to us, that means the next step is coming to you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
At the real estate world.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. Now, I also want to caution, if you're using a CERB as your down payment, there's an issue. They're going to say, we're looking at your bank statement and it says you're unemployed.
Right.
Because if you're getting a CERB or EI, you're unemployed.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're unemployed, you're not likely to qualify for a mortgage.
Right.
Okay. And that's the biggest thing. And I've heard a lot of people, and is it true, Michelle, that a lot of these deals that are coming in, offers coming in, are falling apart due to the financing side of it?
I personally haven't had any fall apart, but I have seen, houses pop back on the market due to financing issues and stuff. So I think that it really all comes down to being educated and knowledgeable about this whole pandemic and how it's affecting, pre-approvals and all that stuff. So provided that a buyer or a seller has an agent, obviously, that is educated and stuff, this is going to make a big difference, because knowing the things that I know, I've got buyers right now that are ready to buy, but they're unemployed. So they've kind of put it on the back burner, and it's not, essential right now. But I do have people that are still working, that it still is essential. And some of them are essentially homeless and living with family because they need somewhere to go. So, yeah.
and that's a good point. So the other thing too is a pre-approval pre-pandemic is not necessarily going to be valid during a pandemic, right?
And that's the thing too, is I have had clients, I've suggested that clients go back to their specialist or whomever they're working with, and just to obviously double check, because right, pre-pandemic and during this pandemic, things are totally different. So making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and just making sure that everything is right from the get-go makes the whole process a little bit smoother, instead of getting into an offer, getting an accepted offer, and then realizing these things after the fact. That obviously just ends up giving the buyer or the seller a bad taste in their mouth, and they've fallen in love with this house and they want it so bad, and then now they're being told that they can't have it. So that's something that I try and avoid absolutely 100%. I just want to make sure that people are prepared prior to.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's the final thing that I kind of think is a good point to touch on is people going in to look at houses or listing their houses. What is different in the real estate world when you're dealing with that, with COVID?
So obviously things have changed significantly in the sense of showing a home. We do have disclosures now that need to be signed by all parties going through the homes. So, and from the buyer standpoint, if I am going to show a buyer a property, we need to obviously sign that disclosure form. There's safety precautions, your hand sanitizer, gloves, and masks, and so on and so forth. Some sellers have different requirements, where others are a little bit more lenient, but obviously as an agent, I'm going to take every step that I can to ensure the safety of my buyers, as well as my sellers, obviously, and just making sure that people follow the protocol put in place. Obviously this is something that's different for all of us, and during this pandemic, obviously we were considered essential, so we continued to work, with the exception of open houses. So open houses were completely shut down. It became illegal, and still is technically illegal, to conduct an open house at this point. So I mean, having a bunch of strangers come into your house and walk around and touch things, that's going to be something that we have to look at in the future, and how we're going to proceed with open houses and stuff. That's going to be interesting.
Would you say that it's really what you're doing now with this COVID-19 is just bringing out the serious buyers, those ones that are separating from spouses, or those ones that are first-time buyers? Or
Yes. So the people who are essentially like, they really need a home, they're the ones that are out right now buying. I mean, there's not people who are tire kickers just out there looking because they want to look right now. So we've kind of eliminated the tire kickers, and we are essentially just working with the very serious buyers, and there just so happens to be lots of them still out there.
And that's what I was going to say. And the market's still going. So even with COVID and 30% of the population being unemployed, or whatever that statistic is, I guess I'm throwing a wrong number out there. It is still, you're still selling houses, and there's still people wanting to buy, still people wanting to list their house. It's just not to the same as it was pre-COVID.
It's a new norm for everybody, obviously. And I'm obviously thankful that you're still giving people mortgages, because without that, I wouldn't be able to help them sell or buy houses. So without each other, we're nothing.
And that's the point. And I think the best thing to do is, when you have a question, ask your realtor about your house information or questions, anything to do with buying a house and anything to do with mortgages. They should be contacting your mortgage person.
Absolutely. When people ask me questions about mortgages and what would our payment be, and what do you think that we should go over asking, like, if this is our budget, I'm like, this is not my forte. You need to go and speak with, your mortgage specialist or whomever that they've decided to work with in that field. So I never try and be an expert in something I know I know lots about the mortgage world and stuff, but not nearly as much as you guys. So just like you wouldn't tell somebody, information or give advice on like a home inspection and what they found or whatever. So
exactly, that's really making sure you don't go to the dentist to have your heart worked on.
Exactly. That's
Same
exactly
theory.
right. Yeah. So I guess in closing, I hope that somebody or anybody watching this obviously has been educated in some ways, shape, or form. I hope this has given you some value in some way. If you have questions in regards to real estate or the mortgage world, we are both available to you. Don't hesitate to contact us, and we would be happy to answer any additional questions, or if you have comments, we are open to your feedback.
Perfect. And
All
if you
right.
have any future questions, please send them off to Michelle or myself,
Yeah.
and we'll be happy to do this again for you just to answer your questions.
Yeah. All right. I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.